So, Tekken 8 has been a controversial game. This game is currently getting review bombed by like the third time or something, and rightfully so. As a long-time Tekken fan, like, this is all that's been on my mind these last few days, and I really want to talk about it. Honestly, I don't see the developers turning this around, and I mean, to be fair, I don't think they want to. Now, you can call me crazy, but honestly, I believe we might be looking at a possible butterfly effect here that might change fighting games as we know them forever. But before I explain why, first let me explain the problem with the game. Tekken is a long-standing series, and most of the moves you see characters doing today, they have been doing them for many years. And of course, it helps if you know every animation and frame in the game. Yet this particular iteration is a lot more volatile, and you can easily get mixed by a player that's simply not as experienced as you are. And this is due to the aggressive philosophy of the game, which is what a lot of people have started referring to as 50-50 casino gameplay. But if that's really the case, then why aren't new players coming out of the woodwork, and why are the old heads still at the top? Well, that is because with a reduced skill floors and abusable hit system, most new players aren't actually learning anything when it comes to how to formulate a game plan. They will just spam their good moves and 50-50 pressure, and sometimes, or even most times, end up winning, depending on how aggressive they are, because your opponent can't guess forever. Some of those 50-50s are safer than they should be, others can be punishable, but of course players, especially new players, don't know every frame in the game, but through a bunch of simple and easy plus on block moves with general high coverage as well, which results in the common situation where one player might not be exceptionally skilled, but he still manages to suffocate his opponent through sheer aggression and plus frames, even though both players are playing a very unrefined and unoptimized Tekken, but one playstyle will ruin the other. And I know some of you might be thinking, well, that doesn't sound that bad, just block, bro. Yeah, except we also have chip damage and guard breaks in this game. Not everybody is like that, of course. Some people actually take the time to learn what they are doing and how the game works, but eventually, even though it is fun, they will probably get to the same conclusion, that they just have to guess a lot. And even though they might have leveled up as a player, they will very well still lose to some crazy law on Wi-Fi that's just going crazy on their ass. But also, if it is their first fighting game, they might simply assume that that's how it's supposed to be. Note that people in Tekken 7 also had to deal with instances of this as well, just like in many other games, but the game simply wasn't as skewed towards one side or the other, and you were able to have more aggressive players and more defensive players. I mean, the low parry giving a full combo was kinda busted, but you know, they fixed that in Tekken 8, and it was a nice change. I liked it. Like, I'm trying to be objective here. At the end of the day, in any fighting game, defense is king, because that's where the skill aspect of it comes from. Somebody tries to throw a certain setup at you and you know the counterplay. Somebody does a move and you know it's punishable and you punish him for it. Defense is your acquired knowledge of the game. But I guess in new players' heads, defense just means turtling in the corner while blocking, and it's boring, which is not what it means at all. It simply means that you know the counterplay to whatever your opponent is doing, assuming that even exists in this game. You got very fast-paced fighters out there like Virtua Fighter 5 who are aggressive and fast, but they manage to balance both aspects. At the end of the day, the player with the best defense is likely to still come out on top in Tekken 8, because it's a fighting game. Assuming the skill gap between those two players is decently sized. If it's a small skill gap, then it's anybody's game, really. And the reduction of that skill gap comes exactly from the lack of defensive options. There are many situations in this game where the defender is quite simply locked down by plus frames. In this game, your two defensive options are essentially 1. Knowing every single frame and property of your opponent's attacks so you can put them in a guessing situation. 2. Pulling a crystal ball out of your ass and guessing correctly on the 50-50 mix-up. Still, the more you flip the coin on the mix-up, the more chances you get at a reward. That's why you end up with Tekken gods that have no punishment whatsoever, and so on. And even if you do know everything there is to know about the game, which takes a lot of time and effort, you will still be put in situations where you are simply forced to guess, which means you are still very likely to lose to someone that simply didn't put as much time and effort as you did. Luck, the greatest equalizer. The balance is so skewed towards aggression, which apparently in Bandai Namco's dictionary means tossing a coin and see if it sticks, that now, even in a first to 10, I wouldn't be surprised if some average player would manage to take a few rounds off of knee, maybe even make it look slightly close sometimes, and some people that have no idea what's going on would look at that and think they did something special and played really well, but it doesn't really mean anything, it's just how the game is. That is how far the skill gap has shortened, because luck now plays more of a factor than ever. This game does a great job at giving you a false sense of skill, which I guess feels great for newcomers because it looks like they're doing something. Although that is completely unnecessary, because in a competitive game, new players shouldn't be beating higher level players to begin with. They should be fighting people their own rank and leveling up over time as they play and study the game. Which is also unnecessary now, because you can get a very high rank without leveling any single character, as long as you are throwing out enough 50-50s. Even a good opponent with incredible reaction speed won't be able to block everything. But at the end of the day, your ability to defend is always what makes you good at fighting games. So they decided to bring defense down to a minimum, and now you literally can't tell who's good at the game or who isn't. Do you know that feeling you get from mastering a game that you play for a long time and knowing all the tech and the tricks and stuff that make up, the depth of its gameplay, and you keep learning over time and putting hours or even years at this point into studying the game because you just find it so interesting, and then the developers just decide to remove all of it. Don't get me wrong, I'm not against accessibility or quality of life changes, but Tekken 8 has gone a bit too far at this point, where they removed a lot of the depth of the ground game and wake-up options, because I guess they were too complicated. And look, I used to get confused by these things too when I first started learning the game. Arguably, I still do sometimes. But with time, you also start to understand that they do have a purpose for various different setups, and they add to the gameplay variety. It is a knowledge check, and you have the opportunity to say, yes, I know what you're trying to do, and I know how to defend against it, because you've been putting time into this game. And even the people that are starting today, like by Tekken 9 or Tekken 10, you will be the veterans, and you're gonna be able to teach the new players everything that you've learned, and that's why it's a legacy game. And it's super cool. But instead, the developers are actually just doing away with these mechanics and execution in the name of accessibility, even though these things are part of the skill ceiling of the game, and they weren't really necessary at lower levels either way. But yeah, so a lot of that is just gone now, just poof, disappeared. Now, when it comes to pro play, which is a huge part of Tekken, the top players are still the most knowledgeable level of the game, even though that gap has shortened by a lot because knowledge isn't quite as important now, considering everything is a 50-50 mid-low mix-up, but they understand that, which is why they complain. Within pro players, they know they might lose a tournament not because they were underprepared, not because they failed to duck a mid-high string or failed to sidestep a slow plus on block move, but simply because they just got mixed. Which is even worse now because characters are doing over 100 damage per combo, and then you have chip damage on top of it, so you can't really block, but you're also stuck in plus frames, so you really can't press a button either because you get counter hit or launched or something, and then you end up dead from a combo that did 60% of your health bar from full screen, and that is also the type of variance that pro players do not like. So their ideas for what would make the spectator love the game is also what makes their pro players hate the game. At a high level, labbing a character is still necessary, but if everyone has insane moves and tools that allow them to get like +6, +5 frame advantages, like they can essentially just do whatever they want right after. And the defender simply has to guess what that is. In a game where everything is overtuned and you have power lows, power mids, power high, just power everything. Yet a lot of the new player base doesn't really understand this because this everyone can win philosophy is made with them in mind. It's made to confuse them, in a sense. Sometimes you can dominate a match, sometimes you can get dominated, because you didn't guess the 50-50. Is there much skill involved? Not really, and you shouldn't be beating yourself up for losing, because a lot of the times there wasn't really anything you could have done, except guess better. But that's not really a skill that you can train. But hey, I mean, it's enough, you know, for their dopamine-hungry brains to spin their wheels in ranked, just like you put a coin in the slot machine and hope this time you will win. And that feels exciting. So now you have a divided player base. You got your veterans who understand the game and know that this is far from a skill-based competitive game, and then you have the casual audience just dropping coins into the slot machine and giggling like little girls every time they get a prize. And if an OG fan tries to tell them the game is bad, they will tell him, lol, get good bro. Everybody was giving feedback to the developers and they decided to double down on this route. And Season 2 is literally broken, but some people still defend it and say the developers really cooked with this one. And look, if you tell me you don't really care about all those bugs and broken shit and you even find it funny, like that's fine. I'm not here to tell you what is right or wrong, simply to discuss the future. At the end of the day, we all know it comes down to money and what is the most profitable out of these two groups. I mean, it's not like actual casinos are unpopular, you know, like those establishments make a lot of money. People love spinning the wheels of fortune. And Bandai doesn't get paid for the time you spend in the lab. They get paid for the season passes, the battle passes and the skins that they sell. And why would you even spend time properly balancing a game if you can just make everybody broken and just have cool special effects that makes it look cool? But hey, if everybody's broken then no one is, right? No, it just makes the game into a fucking bullshit cheese factory. I remember when I started playing Tekken and I thought hell sweeps were some bullshit, and I still kinda think they do. That doesn't mean I want them to get nerfed or anything. You know, they are the way they are for a reason, and I get it, but imagine everybody in the cast now has just bullshit like that you have to deal with. Like, it's not something you want. Like, you don't want every character to have a bunch of bullshit you gotta deal with. That will simply make the game more stressful to play, and it doesn't matter what character shows up on your loading screen, you're gonna look at your opponent and be like, damn bro, I'm gonna have to deal with this move, and this character can also do this, which is some bullshit. Fighting games used to be a bit more nuanced with their gameplay. People used to complain about pure 50-50 guesses, but now it's just a feature. And apparently it looks like they are also trying to patch out every character's weakness, which is a part of their identity, and it's something that whenever you see that character on the screen, you know that you can exploit, just like the other player needs to know their weakness and how to compensate for it. And this is what gives the characters, because they have strengths and weaknesses and you have to know how to use them. This used to be some high-level mind games, but now everything has just kinda devolved into guessing. Every mid-high string now has a mid-mid option if they start ducking. Every mid-mid now has a mid-low option if they don't duck. Everything will counter-hit launch or counter-hit knockdown or something. Every single attack has a bunch of properties on them. But hey, doesn't matter what hits, I'm sure it's gonna sound, look and feel incredible. So you just rotate your options and you make the opponent guess. In this game, everyone is in your face spamming 50-50s. In a way, you could argue this is actually the most honest Tekken game ever, cause you know very well what everyone wants to do. It's just knockdown into guess this mix-up, plus frames into guess this mix-up, minus frames into guess this mix-up, because a bunch of moves also have evasive properties. They have removed a lot of the mind games that was associated with the gameplay, because I guess that would require a thinking brain, and now you either stand, block or crouch. And sometimes there's really no correct answer. If you stand guard, you take a lot of damage. Anna and Yoshi can even launch you. If you try to duck, you're probably gonna get launched as well. Like, there is no avoiding the mix-up. Your options are to guess. And I mean, I guess you can sidestep too, but with the hitboxes and tracking in this game sometimes, like, sidestepping can be a risk in itself. Plus, there are big moves that can't even be punished after getting sidestepped. So, at the end of the day, this game is terrible. But I can understand if some people are just addicted to it. I love Tekken myself, but this just isn't Tekken, man. Like, but whatever this is though, I do fear that it might actually be financially successful. Even if all the veterans quit and you just have a bunch of people playing the game not knowing what they're doing but they're having fun, as long as they buy things, the game will live and even thrive, economically at least. And everyone at Bandai Namco will rejoice and pat the dev team on the back and tell them they did a great job. And I mean, realistically, like, why shouldn't they? I love Tekken, but I am honestly scared that this new direction actually becomes successful. Other fighting games over time might even start taking this approach as well, which will absolutely kill the art of fighting games and devolve them into a genre of casino simulators. But it is what it is. And I mean, if it makes money, like, who am I to tell them it's the wrong move? So whatever is happening with Tekken 8, I feel like it needs to be studied very carefully. Because these are big companies we're talking about, and at the end of the day, it's profits that matter. You don't want Virtua Casino 6 or Dead or Casino 7. We saw this in Season 1, but we kinda ran with it. We thought it was fixable, and for the most part it was. But goddammit, I can see a lot of low-level players thinking that this is balanced because they don't even understand entirely what their own character can do. But from a pro's perspective, or someone that spent a lot of time with his game and know what these changes mean, Like, this game is fucking cooked. I mean, don't get me wrong, alright? Look, guessing was always a part of fighting games, just not to this extent. But after that Season 2 update, I am certain, like, this is not an accident. Some people are gonna say that this will kill Tekken, and, well, I mean, I guess we'll have to wait and see what the numbers say. Although, I think we can say that this game was at least a nice, like, gateway game into the fighting genre for a lot of people. Probably a gateway into gambling as well, but the point is, if this high variance casino 50-50 bullshit actually works, it will affect a lot more than just Tekken. Clearly, there is a huge disconnect here between the devs and the community. But honestly, I'm not even sure if the devs understand who their community is, considering Michael Murray blocked Mrs. Play Stuff on Twitter, which is a Tekken content creator and essentially one of the pillars of their community. And look, everybody loves Tekken 5 DR, Tekken 7, but unfortunately, gaming studios change around a lot, and I'm not sure if this development team can actually give you that type of Tekken experience. What I mean by that is, based off of the patches we've been getting and some weird, like, balancing, I don't think they actually know how to make one of those types of Tekkens. And most likely this game will never get better unless there are some substantial changes inside the studio. I would say the majority of the player base actually enjoys that Tekken 8 is a bit more fast-paced than 7, and we don't want to just be playing 7 again but with better graphics, but we do want to play Tekken, you know, so like, they gotta start listening to the community. What makes Tekken 8 a great product is its ability to keep you spinning your wheels in ranked while feeling like a pro at the same time. But even if you aren't that good, you know, if you just play 2 or 3 matches per day, you can at least get some sick ass pants, and that's completely fine. I mean, it's kinda genius, to be honest. But the real issue is that they are balancing the game itself towards this spectrum and not this spectrum. They really just want to make this as engaging and attractive as possible for new casual players, but meanwhile these orange rank driven balance changes are setting the higher levels on fire. And the funniest part about all of this is that most of these people, they don't read a single fucking patch note or watch a Tekken Talk live. They don't give a fuck. They don't even know what the hell balance means. They were going to have fun either way, but did you forget you run tournaments on this shit? And with the Season 2 update, they added so many new moves to the game, they covered up a lot of characters' weaknesses, they add more 50-50 mix-ups, most of the characters got buffed, and nobody's happy because nobody wants these buffs. It's too much, like the power level on this game is going through the roof. So, either there is a disconnect here with your community and your priorities, or the development team is actually incompetent and they don't really understand Tekken. And that might not be entirely their fault, because like I said, Tekken is a legacy game, it's been around for like 30 years, studios change around a lot, and the decisions and design choices that made Tekken be Tekken already happened a long time ago. A lot of these new developers might be looking at these things, but they don't understand why these things are the way they are. And as they have clearly shown, they don't have the same respect for Tekken's legacy that the veteran players have. Unless of course they just wanna make party games now and tell the pro scene to fuck off, because running a tournament in this shit is laughable. So let me know your honest thoughts on this and on the game itself. Are you having fun? Are you enjoying it? And why? I am genuinely curious and also looking to try to better understand this situation we find ourselves in. At the end of the day, the profits will decide. So I hope this message was clear. Hope you enjoyed this video. Peace.